All right, good evening. This is the East Lyme Board of Finance regular meeting of Wednesday, December 10th, 2025. It's now 5:36. We're at the East Lyme Town Hall via Zoom. I'm Dan Cunningham, and tonight they will be appointing a chair, but I am the chair for the moment. So if we can rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so this evening, first order of business, item number 3 on the agenda. 3A is the election of a chairman. So at this time, I will entertain, do I hear a nomination for the position of chairman for the Board of Finance?
I would like to make a nomination. This is Kim Callaghan, and I would like to nominate Scott McAllister as chair of finance.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I second it.
All right. Well, Sandra, we got a second. Okay. All right. We got 2 seconds. And Barry. All right. Any additional nominations? Any additional nominations? Being none, any discussion? All right. All in favor of Scott McAllister being the chair, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Congratulations, Scott. I'm going to hand the gavel over to you and for the election of the vice chair. Thank you.
Do I hit it again?
You can if you like. I mean, you know.
All right. I'd like to call for nominations for vice chair, and I'd like to entertain a motion to nominate Rich Steele as vice chair of our Board of Finance.
So moved.
There's moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Great. Moved and seconded. Are there any further nominations for vice chair? Okay, great. Are there any discussion for our movement for Rich Steele to be vice chair? Okay, so being moved and seconded, no further discussion. Can we please vote on whether Rich Steele should be vice chair? Indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Motion carries. Rich Steele is our vice chair. Congratulations, Rich. Glad to have you working with me.
Congratulations to you both.
All right, so thanks to Kevin and the team for putting together the agenda. Let's get to our, before we get to delegations, which is the next item that's on the printed agenda, we do need to add one new business item to our new business. We'll call it new business item A, and it is the 2026 Board of Finance calendar. Kevin, you want to, is it contained within our packet?
Yep.
Okay. So do I need to make entertain a motion to put it into new business, or does it just, when we get to new business, we do it then?
Do it now. Make the motion now to add it as
Okay, so
item.
I entertain a motion that we take the meeting schedule that's contained within our packet and add it to our new business items. It will be our only item right now in new business.
So moved.
Is there a second? Great. Moved and seconded to add the Board of Finance meeting schedule to our new business items for tonight. Is there any discussion? Okay, great. Let's vote then, please. Please indicate by saying aye if you agree to put the Board of Finance meeting schedule into our new business items. Indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, great. We now have a new item in our new business for tonight. All right. Next item on the agenda is item 4, delegations. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak? Can you just say your name, please?
I always have a static issue with the microphone, sorry. Jamie Bar Shelburne, is it on? Yes. 31 McElhaney Drive. I'm here tonight for 2 items. First item is calendar related, and I would like to request that you consider moving your Board of Finance meeting times to be more in line with other boards and commissions. 5:30 is really early. That's just my first one. My second one is I would like to remind the board the purpose of the cannabis funds. The cannabis law specifies that monies in the fund shall be appropriated for substance abuse prevention, treatment, and recovery services. It may include, but not be limited to, youth cannabis use prevention services by local advisory councils on drug use prevention, regional behavior health action organizations, or youth service bureaus. Development of public awareness campaigns to raise awareness of the mental and physical health risk of youth cannabis use and cannabis use by pregnant persons, and for the collection and analysis of data regarding substance abuse. Use of funds for roles that do not directly contribute to prevention or recovery, especially for adult populations not specifically tied to cannabis prevention or recovery, could risk audit, oversight issues, or being out of compliance with the legislative intent. The proposed $25,000 cannabis grant usage for next year, hold on, I got it, I can't bring it back up, is $1,500 for EV charging station signs, $3,500 for community gardening, rain gardens, green infrastructure, $5,000 for volunteer appreciation and recognition, $5,000 for community engagement, $2,500 for elderly outreach and engagement, $2,500 for youth outreach and engagement, and $5,000 for art and culture community engagement. And just would like you to remember that when it's time for budget. Thank you.
Thanks. Can I just ask you to maybe elaborate on your first item, please? What's the rationale behind your suggestion that we
For
change
5:30, I just know a lot of people can't get in here for 5:30 for public comment to talk to you guys at 5:30. 5:30 is rough on a lot of families, and townspeople just to get here at 5:30 is hard because public comment is at the beginning of your meetings.
Certainly something that we can discuss. Thanks for the input.
Along those lines, Scott, if I could just comment, I did notice in the bylaws, it does say 7 PM.
It's not customary to respond to
Sorry.
delegations.
I apologize. I'll bring it up later.
Okay.
You can save that for comments.
All right. Is there any other delegations?
Hi, Lisa McGowan, 33 Spinnaker. I'm also here to talk about the cannabis grant money. So I am on the Youth and Family Services Board, as is Jamie. There's 8 of us that meet on a regular basis to decide what to do with the monies and how to help our town. And I do have, if anybody wants, any of the board members want to see the breakdown of the monies, did you want me to give that to anybody, or do you have it?
We had that. I think we discussed that in a recent meeting.
I'm sorry. Okay, so I wasn't there. So I'm speaking for Don Hall, and I'm also speaking for Sarah Furman, who weren't able to be at the meeting tonight. And so I'm just going to kind of read a little bit. I'm referencing the September 10th Board of Finance meeting. Denise Hall pointed out during the budget season, it was determined that the cannabis grant should support our department, Youth and Family Services, and that money should be allocated toward the Wellness and Prevention Coordinator's salary. So that $25,000 from us was kind of already earmarked to round out a full-time position. Right now, one of the therapists or counselors is working part-time. So we wanted to use that money to round out her services so she could come on full-time. And that person helps counsel the seniors and the students. I don't know if our population at large can get her services, but it might be a possibility. I just don't know the answer to that. At that meeting on the 10th, concerns were raised about the grant not being used as originally intended, and several of the Board of Finance members suggested there may be an obligation to direct the money toward youth, family, and human services, consistent with the budget season's discussion. Now, Don Hall is our board chair. According to Don, the statute designates these funds as, quote, cannabis prevention and recovery service funds, close quote. The intent of the law explicitly to support addiction, recovery, prevention, and educational services with particular emphasis on youth cannabis use. And I'm also going to note that our chairman, Don, firmly believes these funds should fall under our purview. He, along with the rest of the commission, does not support allocating the funds to EV stations, gardening clubs, or general civic engagement initiatives unless there's a clear and direct connection to the addiction education, mental health support, or other services aligned with the intent of the law. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for the comment. Are there any other delegations tonight? Okay. Let's move on to item 5 on our agenda then. That is the approval of the minutes from our November the 12th meeting. These were distributed electronically by Kevin. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Great. It's moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the November 12th Board of Finance meeting. Is there any discussion? Okay. Moved, seconded. No further discussion on approval of the minutes from November 12th. Please indicate whether you agree by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstention.
One abstention.
2 abstentions.
2 abstentions, so it is a 4-2 vote to approve the minutes from the November the 12th meeting. The motion passes. The minutes are approved. Let's move on to item 6 on the agenda, the report of the first selectman. Dan, please.
Yes. So, is on? Okay, thank you. So as you probably know and you're aware that the Board of Selectmen is considering the speed camera ordinance. And so we will be, I believe, making a decision at our next meeting. The intended goal of the speed cameras is speed enforcement and speeding. However, aside, I don't know if, I guess you would call it a benefit, is it does create a revenue stream, ultimately. We don't know what that revenue stream would be. There is a learning curve, we hope, that people will slow down and that revenue stream will diminish over time, but initially it could be significant. But the goal is to get people to slow down. So we're going to have a discussion on that, and we'll likely have a vote at our next meeting. As you all know, all of us will be getting very busy in the next few weeks and months as we really dive into budget season. So it's, I welcome everybody that's on the board, and we're all going to have to work together, and we're already engaged in meeting with department heads and getting ready for preliminary budgets to get us where we need to be in a timely fashion. So I will seek your cooperation, and we'll cooperate with you in that regard to get us where we have to go. I'm sure everyone knows this coming weekend is a busy weekend in East Lyme. Saturday morning is the Jingle 5K. I believe that kicks off at 10 o'clock? 10 o'clock, I'm good? Yeah. So probably get there a little bit before 10 o'clock if you're a runner. And then, of course, in the evening, we'll have the light parade, which is, people come from far and wide now to enjoy the light parade. So I want to remind everybody of that and understand that there might be some traffic issues as you move in and out of town. The other thing is this week with the project at Route 161 and I-95, this week is another phase of blasting that's been as part of the project. So starting on Monday, there has been some periodic blasting. It's not quite as significant and pervasive as the earlier part of the project where there was more material to blast away and where it was closer to the road, but there will be some delays and potential inconvenience. But, Manafort Brothers and State DOT, they've been very good at alerting us and making sure that we know when the blasting is going to occur. And there is a mechanism for you to, if you go to their website and our website, there's a link. So if you want to be alerted by a text message, you can do that as well. And finally, it is in proximity to, there's a daycare facility on Route 161, not far from where the blasting will go. And I emphasized in my meeting with the contractors that, I want to be alerted if there's, as they get closer to that building, as they move through, it's going to be going, I think, north to south. I want to be sure that, if there's any issue at all, that I'm alerted right away. And the police know about it, and the people at the daycare center are going to be alerted for any blasting to make sure that the children are inside the building. So I don't think there's going to be a problem, but we're being very careful on that. So that's my report for tonight, and I
Thanks,
thank
Tim.
everybody for being on this board. Thank you.
One question from me before we open it up for broader questions. About the speed camera ordinance.
Yes.
I know there's been some, public discussion of that and some,
Yes.
and some pushback and concerns about it. Have you guys commissioned any studies as in terms of what kind of revenue you might be able to receive from it, and what is the impact on the community?
So there are projections and some studies. I'm not conversant on that, and I don't want to make projections tonight about what the numbers could be. But it could be significant numbers. I was shocked when some of the potential numbers were, described. So I think we'll have a better sense of it, as we move into it. And it's, even if it gets approved, it's a long way off. It has to be approved by DOT, and there's other mechanisms that we have to go through, process that we have to follow before they actually get installed. There has to be a traffic study, and so that's why you really can't predict numbers right now until a traffic study is done to understand, what speeds people are approaching, and there's 2 or 3 different areas that are going to be considered. I think there'll be, one will get installed, and then we'll see how that goes, and then it'll be incremental. I think it's a total of 3 that they're considering. So.
Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah.
just keep us posted on how the
certainly will.
discussion goes, and would love to see just a nice discussion at the board of selectmen about the impact too.
Yeah,
Not just the revenue stream, which sounds attractive, of course, but the impact.
Well, the goal is to slow people. I mean, I get so many calls at my office of how can you control the speeding? What can you do? And there's some police officers out there, and have them, their time used up. I mean, it's an important thing, but they're solving a lot of crimes in East Lyme too. And I think if you're reading the paper, it just seems that they're really doing the job. And so, we want that to be their first focus, I'm sure. Of course, that's a matter for the police commission and the police chief, but that should be job number 1, is letting people know this isn't the place to come and commit a crime. You're going to get caught. You come to East Lyme. But we do want people to be careful, especially around the schools, and slow down a little bit. So this is a way to do that.
Are there other comments or questions for Dan? Okay. Thanks very much.
Of course.
Next item on the agenda is the Board of Education quarterly report.
So I won't, you gotta get closer to this thing. So I won't speak to the Board of Ed report, but it is included in your packets. The Board of Ed gave their quarterly report last month, but since there's a few new members on it, I figured we could include it this month as well for your perusal. We should have an updated copy either January or February for Q2, obviously. So if anyone has any questions, you could email them to me, but they'd probably be best going to Mariana Stevens at the Board of Ed. So if anyone needs their contact info, I can provide that.
We had discussed somebody from the Board of Ed being here at our meetings regularly to sort of improve the interface with them especially as we move into budget season. They were here, I know, the last meeting, but I don't see anybody tonight. So, I think let's just make sure we send a reminder to them that they had agreed to be here.
Yep. Yeah, and I'll forward the calendar to them. So meetings have always been the second Wednesday of the month.
Agree. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep.
Could I just ask, being new to the Finance Committee, it seems unusual to me that just a set of numbers would be provided without any narrative explanation of the variances. I'm used to having that in the business world. Your financials are usually accompanied with a narrative, particularly focused on those areas where you're not in line with budget. And there were several areas where they were exceeding budget, which was concerning. So is it really just an email to them, or could we think about asking them to provide a narrative variance report explaining what's going on with the overages?
I'd like to comment on that.
Okay.
There has been confusion from the representatives from the Board of Education in the past, and this was explained the last meeting that we had, that they weren't aware of what we were looking for in terms of reports. I understand your question, and I'm fully supportive of that. And they were supposed to contact Kevin, Mariana contacting Kevin to see just what Kevin presents to us, so they know what are relevant pieces of information. What you just mentioned is very relevant information, and that can get relayed so that when they do show up, that they'll be able to have that, and on their quarterly reports that'll be present. Additionally, if I remember, I think with the dust around the elections and this time of year, I know we had intended for them to make a monthly appearance, but I wasn't aware that it was going to start this calendar year. I thought it was going to start after the beginning of the year. I may be incorrect.
That was my recollection as well.
Which may be why they're not here tonight. Yeah, I didn't remember it quite that way, so thank you guys for that reminder. But yeah, let's definitely send a note to them, encouraging them to be here with us to answer questions like Kim is raising. You know, another option for us is to send one of our representatives to their meetings and on a regular basis. So that's something that I'd like to discuss with the board members, but maybe not tonight.
Kevin, would it be helpful if I sent you an email with kind of
Bullet points?
articulating the,
That'll be great.
okay.
That'd be great.
Okay, Nick, unless there's any further questions or comments on the Board of Ed report, let's move to this Finance Director report. Kevin?
All right. Okay. So included in your emails I sent, I think on Friday, was the budget versus actuals for expenditures as well as revenues. They are over a dozen pages. So I don't know if you want those printed, but we could talk about kind of summarizing them. 2024 financial statement update. It is looking to be in the February timeframe to get that audit out the door. As you remember, the 2023 audit was completed in late July. So the audit before that was completed in June, so that was a 13-month time frame. We're looking to shrink that down to about 8 months. The next month, the next audit, fiscal 25, we're looking to do in about 4.5 months to get that done in the June-July time frame. So that'll be a nice turnaround there. Budget insights for 2027. I wish I had some good news, but at the moment, we are facing a 15% health insurance increase. We are facing a 58% increase on our legal fees. We are facing, and our pension ADAC payment. That ADC stands for Actuarially Determined Contribution that the town has to make on behalf of the employer, right? So police and fire pay in 8% to their pension. UPSU, dispatch, and a few of the grandfathered and non-affiliateds don't have to make a contribution, but they get a lesser pension benefit. As a whole, the town has to submit money every year to this pension plan to kind of keep it afloat, right, and keep that funding high. We have over a 90% funding ratio right now, which is really good. It's a pretty healthy pension plan. I don't know if I sent one to this newly elected board, but every month I forward along our pension performance review to the pension board as well as the Board of Finance, just so you know how our pension is doing. But that pension payment is going up. When I started here 3.5 years ago, the pension payment was about $500,000. Last year it was $850,000. This year it is $1.25 million. Next year it'll probably be in the $1.4 million range, but it might flatten right around there. That might be the payment we have to make for the next 4 or 5 years. So that is an increase in our operating budget, and just something we've been monitoring. In an effort to kind of cap what the town has to put into there, in the last negotiation with our largest townside union, UPSU, new employees are now in the defined contribution plan, which is a 401A, versus the pension plan. So we're better able to kind of budget for what we have to, pay towards that. So that's a nice tailwind for us in the future.
Can you, before you get to the last item, can you just explain the reason behind the increase in the payments to the pension plan, please?
So the pension, I'll do this as best as I can as an accountant, not an actuary, right? Because actuary is a totally different kind of accounting, and that's been my real learning curve for the last 3 years, the actuary side of all this. So the road jobs, when you see those police officers down by I-95, the way the police union was negotiated, private duty does not have a cap. Private duty is when an officer is working on behalf of Eversource or one of these other agencies doing traffic control, right? There's no cap for their pension earnings on that money. Overtime is capped at 16 or 15,000, right? So if they're working on behalf of the town, that's capped, but this private duty is not capped. Don't ask me why. That was kind of before I got here for that piece. But that's just something to think about. So some of these officers, 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's 60 hours of overtime times $72 an hour times 52 weeks, hundreds of thousands of dollars of overtime. That is directly contributing to this pension increase we are seeing. That job will wind down November of 2026, and we should see some sort of regression in this pension payment we're making. I don't know if we'll see that because a lot of the police officers that are probably working that job right now, once that job is not done, the way the pension is written, it is the highest 3 years of your last 5, right? So it's never going to be higher than it is right now with these road jobs. So what I just on the finance side of things, I foresee some retirements coming down the line here of our highly tenured police officers. So that's kind of what's happening there. And also, the UPSU contract has been negotiated. That was, I think, a 7% increase to bring us in line with neighboring towns. So some of those other things are contributing to the rising pension cost, but the big driving force was that private duty billing. It's north of $1 million of private duty a year.
Yeah, did we have an awareness that it was going to hit us like this and do some planning for it?
On the finance side of things, so I do not think we had a full appreciation of the impact it would have had, right? 1 year into the plan, when we started noticing this uptick in the pension, we did adjust our billing rates. So we went from about a 12% bill. So what happens is, say the police officers are making, just for round numbers, I don't know if it's accurate, $70 an hour doing private duty road jobs. We were charging a 12% fee towards those road jobs for pension payments. I talked to our actuary. We don't like that. Double it. So we put it to 25%. All right. So, and that's still, that might be right there, but we have to fund the payments we're going to make to these retirees for as ever long they're alive. I don't know if that 25 was covering it. I mean, that was our best assumption at the time. So we're kind of seeing how it all shakes out on that particular issue. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, thanks for the explanation. Any other comments or questions from anybody on this?
I'd just like to understand the 58% increase in the legal fees.
So we have a new law firm. The smaller law firm we had got bought out. We're switching to a newer law firm, and the fees are coming in line with regional fees that are charged. I think we've been probably getting a good deal for a long time, and I think now there was a study done, and I think they're bringing us in line with the regional cost of town council. So we are exploring options as far as an RFP or an RFI, RFQ. So that'll be coming down the pike.
In the law firm that we are using for these services, is there the potential to change or interest in changing?
Well, there's always potential.
Yeah, here, Dale, speak to that one.
I mean, we do, right now, we do have the opportunity if we wanted to change law firms. with the exception of just, I think, several years in the last 20, 25, 30 years, we've had same council for the town. And there's a history that goes with that. And I think one of the things you have to recognize, or we have to recognize, is the benefit and the value in attorneys that understand the history, understand the culture. So that's a factor in deciding, do we stay with the same law firm? Do we shop around for someone that's, maybe their rate is somewhat less? But then there's all the learning curve that you have to pay for. Even if you're paying a lower rate with a new law firm, they've got to learn everything that, they just they don't know. And so there's certainly a cost associated with that. So it's a very careful decision and discussion that has to be had. But it probably would be appropriate at this time to see what the competitive rates would be. And we need to know that first before we can go forward on any other decisions.
Appreciate that. Thanks for the
Yep.
response. Any other questions or comments on this item?
I still have a few more topics.
No, I know.
Oh, okay.
Your fund balance projection, right?
And a few other little topics. So, fund balance projection, everyone should have, I don't know why it doesn't say fund balance on the top of it. This spreadsheet right here, it's just a one-pager. So you can see this current year, if we have to use the entire fund balance projected in our budget of $1 million, we will be dropping below our target fund balance of 17%. So that's just kind of, this is the same exact paper we had last month. There hasn't been any material changes to it. So just, this is more of an informational piece, kind of, a budget guide.
What's the magic behind that 17%?
That was I think it's 2 months of working capital, because I think it's 8.33%. So it's 2 months of working capital. It's a Government Finance Officer Association best practice. I think it might even be 20% now, but 17 was a challenge to get that. So, with no questions on that one, I'll just transition over to our tax collector reports. Every month I've tasked the tax collector's office with providing monthly reports and a year-over-year comparison just to see how we are collecting. And then also a few years from now, we'll be able to have multi-year comparisons. So through 11/30/2025, we've collected 56.81%. That is up 35 basis points year over year. So that is good. We are seeing a positive for the collections, right? The collection rate is higher this year than next year. That's a good trend. We like to see, that trend going in the right direction. As everyone knows, in the last 5 years, the town budgeted 98.2% collection rate. This past year, we jacked that up to 99, right? So in the past, we had usually, you're trying to collect 100%, but people move out, people run away, whatever happens. Usually that 98 to 99 is where we're trying to be. Anything we collect over what we're projecting directly offsets that use of fund balance. As we increased that collection rate from 98 to 99, there's less overage we're going to anticipate collecting, right? So the budgets are getting tighter and tighter, if that makes sense. Which is not a bad thing. It's just saying we're finding all these little pockets that we're able to offset that use of fund balance in years prior that aren't there anymore, right? The first year was that motor vehicle supplemental, and every year we're tightening it up as we go. Anyone have any questions with that particular item? I've got only 2 more. Rich?
Yes, I'm not sure if it's relevant or not. I remember Diane talking about the changes in veterans benefits and the
Huge.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
tax relief for veterans.
Oh, yeah.
Will we see much of an impact with collection rate due to that?
Oh, yeah. That was last budget year. I'd like to say it was, I don't want to speak. I can find the number. It was a substantial number. I do know Diane is coming before the Board of Selectmen next month.
This coming meeting.
Yeah, next week, the 17th, she's coming before the board to discuss a couple options, I think it is. I can't really speak too much to it, but there's a few options that the town has with calculating those veteran exemptions. So that'll be coming before the Board of Selectmen next week. So keep an eye on that. But yeah, the veteran exception definitely impacted our grand list last year.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah, so, and of course, there's interest, but Dan will be making a presentation to the Board of Selectmen at our next meeting, and I think it'll be informative. There are municipal options that we can do or not do, and that'll be something that the Board of Selectmen will need to consider. But she will explain what those options are and give an overview of the regulation of the statute. So it might be helpful if anyone wants to watch it or attend.
Thank you.
All right, James, can you switch to a wireless presentation for me for a second? All right, I just want to share something with the board. We've been doing this every month, giving the board an update of where we are with the cannabis funds. So we hit that sweet spot, I guess, at the $160,000 mark. You can see, so what happens, just so all the board members know, there's a dispensary in town located on Colton Road.
Expanded it all.
Sure, hold on one second,
Thank
everybody,
you.
sorry.
I've got old eyes.
It's easier when it's only a foot in front of me. Okay, let me just zoom in here real quick. Okay,
Thank you.
can everyone, is that better?
Yeah,
It's much
much
better.
better.
Okay. So every month, the local cannabis dispensary reports to the State of Connecticut Department of Revenue Services, which then sends us an invoice to remit to the dispensary for recreational only, right? So not the medical piece of it, just the recreational piece. You can see we've kind of hit that $160,000 month over month. It's pretty consistent, 159, 162, 164, 163. So I think that's kind of the sweet spot. So you can see that's just shy of $5,000 a month remitted to the town. So far, we've accumulated $36,730. As previously mentioned, the town has approved $25,000 of this money to be used. Just so we're all aware of the use of this money by the Office of Legislative Research, there are 6 options to use this money. Okay, first one, streetscape improvements and other neighborhood developments. 2, youth employment training programs. 3, services for individuals in the municipality released from Department of Corrections, probation, or parole. 4, mental health or addiction services. 5, youth service bureaus. 6, community civic engagement efforts. Up here's the budget, and these are the items that is directly correlated to. On top of the cannabis funds, right? So we budgeted $25,000 for these projects. We've already collected $36,000, so there's already $11,000 sitting unallocated in that fund. I project by the end of the year that'll be $60,000, $5,000 a year or a month, right? So that's still building up. We do have $180,000 of opioid funds also appropriated, unallocated. I like the appropriation word better. It's tough to get out though. So there are pockets of cash we have for additional services. So that's all I'll say to those items. I do have, if anyone likes light reading, I do have the Office of Legislative Research's background on this. It is a general fund expenditure. It is under the oversight of the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance. So just to set that record straight there.
So, thanks for the explanation. So it sounds like it's possible that Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance may come to us at some point soon with suggested allocations for this additional funds? Or
So the 25,000 was already approved by the Board
agreed,
of
but
Selectmen.
then the additional money that you said beyond the 25,
Correct.
That needs to be allocated, and so I'm assuming Dan and the Board of Selectmen will make their suggestions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, sorry. Here,
No, we have this surplus, and it seems to be more predictable now, what we're going to receive. So, it'll be one of the things we have to address,
Okay.
for sure.
Any sense of timing of when you might be bringing that to us?
I mean, we've got probably mid-January, I would think would be appropriate. We have a lot of appointments and things to, housekeeping we have to do for the first couple of meetings, but once we're beyond that, we'll be able to take on some of these other issues that need to be addressed. This will be one of them.
Any other questions from the board on this?
Yes.
Yes, I don't want us to put the cart before the horse with the cannabis funds. We're seeing the trend. We're seeing an anticipated amount of tax revenue that the town would gain. But I think it would be wise, just as with grants, that we don't kind of really go whole hog on appropriating that money in something that would be a continuing, ongoing effort. That we need to be aware that that money could disappear. There could be changes in legislature in the future. Take it as a gift right now, but don't take it as that it's necessarily going to always be there.
So the one thing I'll say with the 25,000 that's been currently allocated, the 25,000 that we spent are one-time expenses, and there's no reoccurring cost to the town. So that's exactly to that statement. Not a because if the dispensary closes, that funding dries right up.
Right.
Right. So if it closed tomorrow, our last payment will be January 31st. So it's really contingent upon that dispensary staying open, and so there might be a little going concern on that money, accounting speak. But if anyone doesn't have any questions on that one, what do you
I'm
want?
sorry.
Well, I just, the same concern for the ARPA funding, where you didn't want to commit, you have these funds that are temporary, really, and you don't want to commit to something that's going to be ongoing and is a commitment into the future. So I think we have to use that same methodology and concern with these types of funds, because you don't know whether they're going to be there or not. But there are things that are maybe a one-time expense that we're not committed to necessarily in the future that are helpful, that satisfy some of the concerns that the statute anticipated and how we can use those funds. So, good comment. Thank you, Rich.
Kevin, could I just ask you to reconcile the public comments that were made versus the list of 6 that you put up there? The public comment appeared to me as a new person listening, that the town did not allocate appropriately. That's what I took away from the public testimony. But in your description, it looked as though we did align. So where can someone discern, like, if we are adequately meeting the regulations?
Yeah, so I've contacted 3 different departments of the state of Connecticut. James, can you switch back? So this is the use of revenue from the actual, you can see the citing of this. Here's the 6 uses. From the Office of Legislative Research, they were mentioning 1. So there's
Yes.
5 others.
Well, and they put those 5 others as if they were not
Real.
appropriate.
I don't find that to be actual.
Okay.
It sounds
Based
like
on
it
all
was
of my research.
mischaracterized by
Okay.
the public comments to us.
Okay.
And we had discussed this at the meeting where we approved the spend of the
Okay.
25,000.
And just so full transparency, Dan and I are meeting on the 16th with the Youth and Family Service Department to talk about transitioning a part-timer to a full-timer with the opioid funds, with the local cannabis funds, with the additional Youth and Family Service Bureau grants we've been getting. So I just don't know the timing of all this.
Yeah. So I appreciate you showing us the actual
Yeah.
The actual
Helpful.
document.
details of the statute. It's helpful for us and helps us to contextualize what we just heard.
And we tried to be very careful as we tried to figure out, where can we use these funds and where is a good place to use the funds. And we have that list, and we tried to be very careful to make sure that we fit into that list when we made the suggestions to the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance.
And so I put the grant guidance at the bottom of this budget proposal. And so when the Board of Selectmen actually voted on it, they could directly see what number we were associating, what grant guidance of the 6 does that fall under, right? So the first 2, streetscape improvements, number youth outreach engagement. In my, I used to be an auditor of municipalities before I was a finance director of them, and I would not have a problem with this, in my opinion.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Great discussion. Thanks, Evan.
So before we leave, I just have two more topics. You can swap that back. So there's just two more things we need to be apprised of for next meeting. In the next meeting, at the Board of Selectmen level, the Water Department is going to be requesting a bond transfer. I think it's about $170,000. We are not asking for more money. Some projects have been closed out, and they want to start using those money to do the PFAS mitigation before the upcoming budget cycle to get those projects rolling. It's we've already had this money approved. It's just reallocating it to a new project, right? So that's one item. Item number two, before you hear the dollar amount, hear me out fully. There's a $6 million bond authorization coming down the pike as well for the Colony Road Bridge project. So I don't know quite where Colony Road is. I know where most roads are in town, but there must be a hell of a bridge in Colony Road for $6 million. It is 80% funded by the federal government, 20% funded by the state government. The town is in charge of administering the program. So we have to front the money as they do the project. We're estimating it to be a 6-month project. It's about $1 million a month in payments out the door. We were expecting to get a full reimbursement back, but that's $6 million that, we do have it, but we really need authorization to have the potential to take out a bond if we need it, right? So this isn't unnormal. When we bonded for the open space land acquisition, right, the Hathaway Farms, the Brainerd Road pieces, that was a $2.25 million. We were only paying $1.7 million. There was a $400,000 grant, as well as using $200,000 of open space funds, but you have to get approval for the entire amount, right? That's just how the bond authorizations work. So we are doing that. We do not anticipate having to use that money, but it's nice to have that backup in case there's a need to take out money to cover, operating expenses, things like that.
So it's just a cash flow move?
It's really a cash flow issue and a really contingency if, God forbid, they say, okay, you can't put gold, I shouldn't say that, you couldn't put brass railings, I don't want to say gold, brass railings on that, they have to be, chrome or something, I don't know. So if there's any little overage like that, or if there's anything that Public Works or a town engineer say, hey, we'd like to do above what your spec says, or whatever, just have some flexibility. So,
just one other question, like 80% from the federal government, is that secure, or is it subject to an executive order whim from the president's office?
that is a great question, Barry. I don't have the answer to that. I can get an answer from Joe Bergaw, our Public Works Director, Alex Close, our Deputy Public Works Director / Town Engineer. If I'm a betting man, I would think these projects are fully allocated because they're ready to go. We're starting this project April 2026. So it's shovel ready.
Okay.
So I imagine this money's been allocated, but I don't want to assume. So I will ask the question and get back to you on that one.
Thank you.
Kevin, I'm sorry, I want to just go back to the bond. So
Mhm.
when we do a bond financing, though, I mean, we incur costs. So
Mhm.
you had previously shared this spreadsheet that had a fund balance of like 15 million.
Correct.
So can you just help me understand the financing philosophy of
Mhm.
taking out a bond to cover our cash flow versus the fund balance having more than enough to cover that project flow?
So I have no anticipation of taking out the $6 million. I think we're going to be able to cover it with cash flows.
Okay.
Yep. This is just a, catastrophic, we're not getting the 80%, they yanked it from us.
Okay.
We have to have authorization
Okay.
to, because that project will be well underway, before, God forbid something happens, but we have more than enough cash flow to cover that, exactly
Okay.
as you said. So we do have, we always try for 2 months working capital. So, and that's 16.66%. We rounded that up to 17%. So, but that's, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Are there any other items?
That is all I have, I believe.
Okay. Any further questions or comments for Kevin?
I don't have any agenda. Can I just hit one more item? As part of the new board, I attached the bylaws. I emailed over the state statute on the Board of Finance as well as the town charter. I think it's Chapter 6 that deals with the Board of Finance, as well as I think I sent over the pension plan and a few other things, just to kind of give everyone and the fiscal 23 audit, which is our latest audit. When we have a draft copy of our 24 audit, I'll provide that as well. So just wanted to make sure everyone had all that. And if anyone has any questions anytime, I'll give everyone my cell phone numbers after. You can
Great.
call or text.
I was intending on, based on what you sent out to us, spending some time with you to make certain that, me as a new chair with who's not done this job before, I want to make sure that I understand things well, so I can help to explain them to the board should there be questions, and of course I want to understand them myself so that we address all the issues that come up in a efficient way.
That'd be great.
I'm assuming the offer that you made to me is also offered to others if anybody else wants to spend time with Kevin and the team.
Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you for that.
Do you want to address the bylaws issue of the meeting time now, since it's part of Kevin's info, or do you want to do it later?
I think I'd like to maybe have some discussions about it, but not tonight. I'm not inclined to change our meeting times based on a suggestion from one person. I'd like to understand better about what the challenge has been and whether or not we truly need to change them, because this has been the meeting time as far as for a long time, as far as I know. But I'm happy to discuss it maybe outside the meeting, and then if we want to have a discussion of what we're going to do, if anything, at the meeting, let's do that. Sound okay? Okay, on to new business then. We now have a new business item, everyone. It is the Town of East Lyme Board of Finance meeting schedule. It's in your packet. It has meetings listed at 5:30 p.m. on Wednesdays from January 14th all the way through to December 9th. So I will entertain a motion that this be adopted as our meeting schedule for the year. There certainly is the option of moving them should board members have conflicts, or there be other events happening in town or in all of our lives that necessitate moving them. I know that they did get a little bit moved last year, not a whole lot, but I think we need to put a line in the sand and start someplace. So this feels like the right place to start. Is there a motion to approve these meeting dates?
Scott?
Go ahead.
I'd like to make the motion, but I would like this to be known as regular meeting schedule, because as we go into the budget season, we have many additional special meetings. And I don't know if it needs to be defined as such, but I'll make the motion either way.
Yeah, that's fair. So, Rich, your motion is to call these January 14th through December 9th dates as our regular meeting schedule, recognizing that we will add more required meetings as budget season heats up in a couple of months. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, great. Moved and seconded. Is there discussion of the meeting dates? I mean, Kim, did you have a concern about the meeting date that led to your?
No concern on the dates. I just, the bylaws are not aligned on the time. I don't have an issue with that. It's just.
Yeah, I don't know the history of that. Does anybody know the history of that?
I think so. You really got to get close to this. I think it was last year or the year before we changed it from 7 to 5, and I think this is the act of noticing it. So regardless if it's 5:30 or 7 or whatever the board decides, you guys vote on it, and I'll make the change here or keep it. So, but because I think this is the notice, right? Like, because we're putting this notice, this gets scanned into the records separate from the board minutes and everything. So I think that's the notice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't care the time. It's just usually your bylaws have to be in sync with your what you're acting on.
Yes,
It's more of a housekeeping issue.
yes, I understand, Kim. However, it's too late to add that as an agenda item for this meeting. We can perhaps have that as an agenda item for the next meeting and address it then to either change the bylaws or change the time of our meeting. But by the rules of the meeting, we can't add that as an agenda item this meeting.
Okay,
Thank you.
yep.
Any further discussion on this motion? So moved and seconded. We've had discussion now on adopting the meeting schedule of 5:30 p.m. on the second Wednesday of each month from January 14th to December 9th, 2026. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. 600.
Scott, can I just say one thing about the board meetings?
Of course.
So that March 11th meeting to the April 8th meeting, that is going to be a time where we meet quite often. That is when the Board of Selectmen sends the budget to the Board of Finance, right? It's that February 11th meeting. I'm sorry, the March 11th meeting. So after that March 11th meeting, we kick into busy season as the Board of Finance. And so from that March to that April meeting, we probably meet 2 or 3 times a week. So just so everyone is
Maybe it would be
aware.
great if we could circulate the schedule that we used in 2025 to the board members so they are aware of how frequent it needs to be. And I think that what we'll need to do is maybe have a discussion about the timing, and I'll solicit opinions.
Okay.
All right, next item on the agenda is old business. This is appointments to the CIP committee. And there are 2 sub-items. One is 2 members of the Board of Finance. One is a citizen appointment. I don't believe, unless anybody knows otherwise, that we're prepared to make a citizen appointment tonight. In terms of members of the Board of Finance being appointed to the CIP committee, I guess I'll just ask if there are anybody on the board who would like to do it.
I'll step forward on that. I did it last year and it was a lot of fun.
I think it was fun.
A lot of fun. What made it fun, Barry?
The new ideas that came, when you met with all the town governance, they all came forth like new ideas of things they were working on, what they wanted to do, and it was a very productive, very forward-thinking sets of discussions, so it was enjoyable to do that.
And Kevin, can you maybe explain, or Dan, the frequency of the meetings and the workload?
Sure. So I did have a proposed schedule I could send to the boards. It doesn't have exact dates. There's, I would say, 4 meetings a month. There's probably once a week. It was meeting for 2.5 months-ish. So at the deadline is really at the Board of Selectmen. So the CIP committee makes a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen to kind of adopt their recommended package, and then that gets forwarded to the Board of Finance. So we have until that second week in March, really, to get that solidified. So January, February, and the first week in March, we're in busy season there. Besides the town's operating budget season, we're in that CIP meeting. We do go on field trips, so we commandeered one of the senior center buses and went to all facilities in town just to kind of get a little observation of what the status is of them. That's where the CIP committee kind of walked into the aquatic center and saw the flakes of metal falling into the pool, and that's why that kind of pushed forward there. So I think it is a worthwhile endeavor if you want to see all of the town's assets and all the facilities we have. We do have, it was a pretty good working group, but I would say it was more of an earlier meeting. So our meetings tended to be from 3 to 5-ish, 3 to 6-ish, just so we can get a lot of department heads, because it was really department head intensive, because they're walking through all their items. And we were doing, like I said, observations. We were trying to get some daylight in there.
So if I can just play back what I think you just said, is between now and mid-March, there's probably 4 meetings a month. They could be 2 hours, like 3 to 5 p.m.
Yep.
On weekdays. And then after mid-March, does this group need to continue meeting?
It hasn't historically.
Okay.
It would be nice if it has some sort of, periodic meeting just to kind of keep the tenure, but I haven't built that side out of it. So it's
Okay.
really just right now a budget tool that the town's
Right.
using to kind of shave down the capital project requests. So last year I think it was over $30 million, and we got a package of $7.5 million roughly.
Got it.
So it's,
So it's a heavy workload, it sounds like, between now and mid-March, and after that it calms down.
correct.
So Barry, thank you for volunteering. Maybe, Lauren and Sandra, do you guys, either of you like to do it or able to do it in the next couple months?
Not at this time.
I'm happy to do it. If I can't, with a caveat, there may be little moments that I can't, or not all time, just because.
So we have 9 members. Hopefully it's a full 9-member board. So, or I don't want to say board because this is kind of just like an ad hoc between the 3, Board of Ed, Board of Select, and Board of Finance to kind of come to an agreement on, a CIP package.
Right.
And there's 2 objectives. There's the current year capital project request list, and then there's a 5 and 10-year long-term projection. And ideally, in front of the Board of Finance, we should probably do something similar in the operating budget and kind of model that out for a 5 and 10-year time frame, and then benchmark our annual budgets against that. But that's a heavy lift at the
Right.
moment.
Okay.
I will, if I could add to that, someone said it was who said it was enjoyable? Someone said it was enjoyable.
That was Barry.
Barry.
Yeah, no, I couldn't make every meeting, but I tried to, I made enough of them that I really, it gave me a different appreciation of what's going on in town here. And, we see all these numbers and these budgets, and we talk about equipment and pickup trucks and dump trucks, and it makes it real. I guess that's the point. There's real equipment, there's real people operating this equipment, there's things that have to be taken care of. It gave me a different perspective and different sense of what we're all about. So, in that sense, it was kind of fun, and I really did. I enjoyed being part of it, and it really helped me to be informed. And I just think it's a great thing, and I'm glad we're doing it.
Well, now maybe I want to do it too.
You might.
Just kidding.
Can I just add one thing about the committee? They also made
Please.
it fun. We set up in motion last year where everybody came in. There was measures of accountability. Everybody said, we're going to get this money, and here's what we're going to do with it. So it's going to be very interesting this year to see when they come back to say, did you actually do with the money what you said you were going to do? And I think, somehow eventually we have to build in more precise measures of accountability into the capital improvement projects as well as the town budget.
Yeah, and I think, since this is the second year we've had the CIP committee, I think it's important that we kind of adjust our rating scale a little bit to, have they used this money yet? Right, because the town, we're borrowing all this money, we're paying interest on this money. Have we started that project yet? Like you said you were going to a year ago, right? You got a year to plan for this project. Where are we in the progression of using these funds, right? So that's the next step is, on the finance side of things, is not bonding all the money day one like we've been doing since forever, right? We don't need all that money day one, so that's something we're going to work towards as well.
And credibility is, we say we need something, but did we really need it? We didn't use it, we didn't buy it, we didn't do it. So it gives us a better sense of what credible requests are and are not. So all the way around, any way you look at this, it's a great strategic tool. We're doing it, and we're going to try to incorporate other strategic planning concepts into what we do.
All right, so I'm hearing a lot of positive remarks about it. So it sounds like Barry and Lauren are going to have a great opportunity, and I would also hope that you guys come back to us with your comments. So I will entertain a motion that Barry and Lauren are our 2 Board of Finance members as representatives to the Capital Improvements Program Committee, and I need a first and a second, please.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second. Anybody else want a second?
Second.
Thank you, Sandra. Any further discussion on this? Okay, the motion is on the table to appoint Barry and Lauren as our 2 representatives to CIP. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion
I'd have
carries.
to abstain.
Okay, the motion carries 501 or 40.
I probably should abstain as well.
402 is the motion, but it still passes. We don't have a citizen appointment. I think we should maybe work offline to find a citizen who can be the representative of us to go. So maybe I'll be in touch with you guys both to try and find that offline. No further old business. There doesn't appear to be any members of the public here for public discussion. Are there any board comments for tonight? Go ahead, Rich.
Yes. One, I want to welcome our new board members. It seems like we don't have a shy group, so it should be an interesting, productive year. I would like to address some of the public comments that were made. The initial aspect, where somebody had mentioned a change in time because of difficulty making it to the public comment. We do have 2 public comment sections in our agenda, unlike a lot of boards and commissions in the town that only have 1. Traditionally, our first public comment or delegation was to be focused around what our agenda was for the evening. And the more general discussions from delegations or public discussion would be held for the second public discussion at the end of the meeting. I think that's probably preferable to continue in that vein so that we can address agenda issues more efficiently and efficaciously. In terms of the time, as Kim mentioned, we are out of what is written in the bylaws. I thought we had adjusted those. It looks like we have not. But unfortunately, for following the rules of the meeting, we didn't have that as an agenda item to change that time. I would be in favor of keeping it at 5:30. One of the reasons that we had it at 5:30 was for town employees, if they needed to make a presentation for us, that they didn't have to come back if they lived distantly for a later time. They could just hang around. And with having the 2 parts of the meeting where there's room for public input, I don't know that we need to worry if somebody can't make it for that first one. The other aspect is we do have Zoom links that somebody could participate remotely in a hybrid fashion. And then the second comment that I would like to make is again directed to some of the public comment that we heard tonight about the cannabis funds. As it was presented to the Board of Finance, it looked like the town had checked the legal status of the use of these funds. It wasn't what we had originally anticipated, but it did fit the criteria that the state set out as use of these funds required. And as Dan had mentioned, like ARPA, you don't want to start taking a source of funding that may not be reliable in the future and start putting it into salaries and positions. It's just not a prudent thing to do. And so I think the use of the money isn't as I had originally thought it would be, but I think it is for good uses. And we do have the opioid fund that goes towards more the youth and family services.
Thanks, Rich. Are there other comments from board members? So I'd like to add my welcome to the new board members, Sandra and Barry and Kim. Really glad to have you guys here. If it would be helpful to you to sort of shadow with myself or Rich or Lauren, I'm sure the 3 of us would be glad to work you through some of the details of the work that we do here. Or it sounds like Kevin and the team would also be helpful. But I think you guys also, maybe unlike me when I first began, it seems like you guys are starting from a much more advanced place and you get it already. So please advocate for yourselves and decide if you'd like additional support. I also want to thank everyone for their support for me being chair. I appreciate the confidence. I will do my very best to maintain an efficient and very productive board. I do really like the precedent that Denise and the team set in the last session of us being as nonpartisan as possible. I think we're all here to do good by the town. I think we're all here to do good by, our own principles. And let's make sure we express those, but let's make sure we express those in a civil and productive way. And I feel like Denise established that precedent, and I feel like really good that we can continue to do it that way. Okay. I've got nothing else. I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Great. Moved and seconded to adjourn our meeting tonight. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries 6-0. We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Great.